Hi all, welcome to the Empowering Equine Podcast, where we talk about all things related to science-based training and management, positive reinforcement, Lima-focused training, and equine welfare and ethics. I'm your host, Alta van Niekerk. I'm often joined by my moderator and husband, previously known as the fiancé. Hope you enjoy this podcast and find inspiration to become the best horse person you can be for your horse. Hi everyone, welcome to the first episode of the Empowering Equine Podcast, and I'm joined with he was known as the fiancé on my Instagram, for those of you who follow me on Instagram, but now he has upgraded to the husband, and he is our technical manager, and he has been a major driving force in actually getting this podcast up and running. I'm really appreciative of him. He has been up many nights researching, getting gear, learning how everything works. I'm really appreciative of him. So everybody give a round of applause to the driving force behind actually getting this thing, after years of contemplating, actually getting this thing up and running. So the husband, how's about you introduce yourself?
Good morning, everybody. I will be known as the husband. I will play the supporting role in this podcast. I am also a newbie to positive reinforcement, although I've heard a lot about it. But some of the theories and stuff I don't know. So I will definitely act as the beginner in this series and asking Alta to explain the meaning and theories and definitions of some more higher academic words. Yeah,
because I tend to forget sometimes that not everybody's on a different stage in their path journey, and I sometimes become very one-track minded, and I take a 90-degree turn on certain ideas, and just having someone just reminding me, what are we talking about, and trying to say, okay, but what does this actually mean, I think will be very beneficial to the podcast. So before we actually get into the episode, that's just going to be a little bit of a get to know me, what this podcast is going to be all about and everything. I just want to clear up some things. First of all, English is not our first language. It's our second language. We have completed our degrees in English, so we are quite dominant in the language, but sometimes our sentence structures don't make a whole lot of sense, but you will hear a lot of ya's. Ya means yes. So if you hear this throughout the podcast, there's your explanation on that.
Yes, yeah. If we say yeah, we agree with everything that's being said.
Yeah. So
there you have it.
There you have it. And I do have a slight stutter. If that slips into the official release of the podcast, I apologize. We will try and edit it out before launching, but just full disclosure, I have a slight stutter. Apologies if that is a bit inconvenient for some, but let's just get into the questions.
Yeah, you said there was a lot of questions on Instagram, and you sent me the questions. The feedback that we did receive was from a lot of you. There were a few repeat questions, so a lot of you asked the same questions, and we narrowed it down to about 7 questions. So for the first question, what is your name, age, your current horse's name, age and breed?
Alright, so my name is Alta van Niekerk. I'm 23 years old and I'm turning 24 on the 11th of June of this year. I currently have 2 horses, Arabian gelding, we call him Ali, his show name is Ala Aldin, and a chestnut thoroughbred mare. We call her Libby. Her racing name is Fox Street. And then my husband has rising 4-year-old. His name is Volare. He is an Anglo-Arabian, which basically means he's a cross between Arabian and a thoroughbred. And he is turning 4 in September around August. So he's turning 4 in August, and he was gelded last year, I believe October. So he has been a stallion for 3 years. He was a colt for 3 years. And he started his education with positive reinforcement while I was doing my foundation course with Adele Shaw from the Willing Equine. So he is a positive reinforcement baby. My other two, Ali and Libby, are crossovers.
We also call him Stoopy because he tends to have a lot of foal manners.
He's still a baby. He's still a baby boy. Okay, next question.
For the next question, your hobbies, work, things that you like to do, etc. other than horses.
Okay, so I'm just going to start off by saying what work I actually do. I work as a human resource management administrator in our family business. So my husband and I work together, and he is the chief operational manager
of the farm / citrus export company that we run.
And so I'm helping out there. I kind of working from home, kind of in the office. So it's a nice setup. I have enough time for the horses. So my line of work allows me to do the horses. That's nice.
Yes. And I just want to add, for our friends listening to in America, if you find yourself in New York and you buy your citrus from Walmart, I don't know. I know specifically Walmart. I don't know the others.
In the summer seasons.
In the summer seasons, when your citrus is out of season, there is a 99% chance that you are eating our oranges.
So that's pretty cool. And my hobbies, aside from horses, is I enjoy reading, I enjoy drawing. I've recently picked up adventure riding with the motorcycles. It's something that my husband and I do together that I really enjoy. I really enjoy running. I haven't had much time for it, but I really enjoy running. It's something I do with the dogs that I really enjoy. And I've been really enjoying cooking lately. I mean, my husband needs to...
I've been enjoying her cooking lately.
Okay, so it's been a success. That's good. That's good to know. And just general things I like to do is just... it sounds so cheesy. I hate it when people say it. Just being outdoors in nature and
playing with the dogs.
But that's the truth. I really enjoy traveling. I really enjoy doing road trips. I really enjoy seeing new places, and that's something my husband and I do together.
Then for our third question, how did you get into positive reinforcement training? What was your horse journey?
Okay, this is a long one. So let me just start from the beginning, my horse background, I would say. I grew up in a family of horse people. My mom showed, my grandfather showed and bred horses. So I grew up around horses. So I guess since I could properly sit, I was put on a horse's back. And I had the amazing opportunity of showing horses and being on the show circuit, having a string of fantastic horses I was allowed to show and had the privilege of being around and working with. When I finished high school, I was at the point where I was very burnt out. I was over showing, I was over horses, I sold all my horses.
Just for reference, when in South Africa, there's a tradition amongst matrics, if you finish your high school, that you go on your first independent holiday. It's called matric holiday. And Alta missed her matric holiday to do her last show that she thought would have been her last show.
Yeah, so I was very dedicated towards my showing career and everything. But it was at that point, like my last show it was terrible for me because I felt like, was going to be my moment to shine. And, the classes didn't go as I hoped it would and everything. So I was so burnt out. I never wanted to see a horse again. So I went off to university trying to find myself and everything, but as the story goes, I just love horses too much, and I guess my way of seeing horses changed in the sense of I didn't want to show anymore. I didn't want to necessarily be competitive anymore. I wanted to find out the why behind horses. I wanted to understand how they tick. So I wanted to understand how horses work. I wanted to understand the why behind horses. So I got in touch with a natural horsemanship trainer in my first year, and I shadowed her work. I don't want to disclose like the brand of natural horsemanship because I don't want to name bash on this. Not that I'm name bashing or anything. It's just, I feel like I shouldn't say the brand name. But anyway, so I shadowed her for a year, and it definitely opened up a rabbit hole towards, there are other ways of handling horses, where my more traditional showing background, it was very much punishment based, like muscling a horse into doing what you want, not really understanding how the horses work. And with the natural horsemanship, it was definitely different. It definitely opened my eyes towards there are other ways of doing this. And so it didn't satiate what I really wanted to know about horses, the why. It was still how do you get a horse to move off of your leg? How do you get the horse to do XYZ? How do you get them to perform behaviors? But that wasn't what I wanted to know. I wanted to know, why do horses do XYZ? And just kept an open mind for about a year. And on YouTube, it was Jill Trees from Jet Equifairy. She did a YouTube video where she explained that she wanted to do positive reinforcement training with her mare Zoe. Because my university degree is in psychology, all the words positive reinforcement, negative reinforcement, positive punishment, the principles of learning, I was familiar with. And I remember just looking at the video and I looked like a dog hearing a strange sounds, like, this is so interesting. I absolutely love this. And so I followed I called them the positive reinforcement veterans, Adele Shaw, connection training, everybody that was doing it at the time, and still do. And that's how I actually started my positive reinforcement journey. It was something I could practice. I didn't have horses to train it with at the time, but I had my cat that I adopted. And the first few months, I was just clicker training her to give me a high five. And that was how I slowly got into really doing it. And the first time I did it with a horse was with my childhood pony Blondie, and she and I were in not really a good space relationship wise, and because I couldn't ride her because I outgrown her, all that was left was like bonding, and I couldn't get that relationship I wanted with the natural horsemanship exercises I was given. In fact, I don't want to say resented me more, because that's a anthropomorphic term, but it didn't aid in our relationship. She didn't look forward to seeing me. And after our first 2 positive reinforcement sessions, she did a full 180, and our relationship just went so well from there. And I think that was the turning points. Like, this is absolutely what I want to to do. Now everything makes sense.
Okay, for the second question, what is your passion behind your work with horses? What fuels you in this line of work? Smiley face.
Smiley face. Thank you. What fuels me is, I guess I've always had just this absolute love for horses. And I remember my mom always told this story, like jokingly, but I guess that just kind of like represents how I always felt about horses. One of my grandfather's mares refused to go into her stall the one evening and just ran circles in her paddock, and everybody was getting frustrated, and I was about 6 years old, and my mom said, I just stood there with my grandfather and I said, Grandpa, she just wants to be free. and that is true. I wish I kept that mindset throughout my horse training career. And I've worked with a lady for a few years who does equine assisted play therapy with Lima force-free positive reinforcement principles, because she knows me for a very long time. And one day she asked me what was my safe space, and a lot of children will say their rooms or something similar, their parents' house or whatever, and I said with my horses. So I've always felt safe. I always felt like I belonged with horses, and I couldn't imagine myself without them. And training with positive reinforcement just reiterates, if that's the correct word to use, how I feel like I belong there. And not because my horses are subordinate to me. It's because we find solace within each other, I feel. That's a bit anthropomorphic, but if I have to speak out of pure emotion, that's how I would say it feels.
Yes, and her grandma also always used to tell me the story when we were still in our dating phases. When they were little, her brother, he's 14 months older than her. And when they were little, 5, 6 years old probably, he used to play with his tractors and his trucks and all that farm equipment toys in the ground outside in the yard. And she would play with her horses and cattle plastic dolls, and then they would play farm, and he would have to take her horses to the show in the horse box. And she wasn't a Barbie girl when she grew up. She was definitely a horse girl.
And with my page specifically, with Empowering Equine specifically, I guess my passion, because it is my passion project, I absolutely love being on my page, connecting with everybody and helping people, and I absolutely love it. That's why I've stuck around and did it for so long. Is just, I remember how frustrating it was that the first thing you search on Google, how can I get my horse to stop doing this or do this, and it's all traditional punishment based, non-scientific methods, and that's what the masses are fed. And the goal with my page is to make humane training, Lima based training, positive reinforcement based training more mainstream and more accessible to more people. I don't want anybody, even if they don't choose to train the way I do, nobody has to train the way I do, but so that nobody can say, I never knew there was a different way. If I knew there was a different way, I would have done it a long time ago. If I knew about positive reinforcement training when I was 14, I would have been all over that. Definitely. I would have been so much more far along than I am now, but that's how the journey goes. So my goal and what drives me is to make all of this more accessible. My goal is to, and with this podcast as well, broaden and make things more accessible.
Yeah, I can definitely attest that she is almost semi-permanent on Instagram on her page. Because if I want to send her a funny meme or video or whatever, I have better luck sending it to Empowering Equine than DMing her personal account. I get a faster response.
Sorry.
So she definitely has a passion for horses and horse well-being. So for the next question, how you got to the point where you are today in terms of working professionally with horses?
I would say this is a very interesting question because I actually wrote a whole post about it. I believe by the time this is live, I would have already posted it. I didn't consider myself a trainer or looking back. I did a lot of things wrong. Definitely a lot of things I would do different now today. And that was after I really decided, this is how I want to train, I personally do not want to combine negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement in one training session. I prefer to exclusively use positive reinforcement with the least amount of restraints as possible. And of course, we're not training in a vacuum. Life happens, but that's a whole topic for another podcast. Last year, at the end of 2020, I did a video consultation with Adele Shaw from the Willing Equine. And back then I thought I was the shit. I was training my childhood pony.
And you won this consultation?
Yeah, I won this consultation.
So you didn't pay for it?
No, I didn't pay for it. It was on a giveaway on Instagram. And back then I thought I was the shit. My horses were performing behaviors, and I did a consult with Adele and we talked and we analyzed the video and everything. And just from that hour-long consult, my training did a complete 180. And that was the moment when I realized, I really need to, if I want to make this a business / want to help other people, specifically help with behavior modification, I really need to invest in my knowledge, invest in my skills. And so I refrained from posting training videos. My training also took a bit of a back seat in the sense of I didn't want to train extremely complex behaviors with Ali and Libby, because that was also about the time they came into my care. And because I always had the idea I wanted to learn from Adele because our views align. I want to train the way she does, and it's just how I wanted to train. And so I refrained from posting my training videos because I actually removed a bunch of training videos from my page. And until I was sure, I am on the right track, I will always make mistakes. I will adjust my training, but, I want to have a clear idea where I was heading and how I'm doing it.
But I also remember that video. When you took the video, I was visiting you at your house on the farm, and I was watching TV quite calmly, and you came back almost to the point of tears when you recorded the video to send to Adele. And when I asked what's wrong, you said that, well, Blondie didn't want to work at all today. Her mind wasn't there. She didn't do this. It was a complete flop. And I remember your dad telling you that rather send in the one that didn't work so that you can get more feedback on what you're doing wrong than sending in the perfect video and Adele says, oh no, you're quite good. Then you didn't receive any constructive criticism. So maybe failing at that particular point set you up for more success.
Yeah, no, definitely. I'm ever thankful because I went out and I filmed that session with the idea, I'm going to send this in. And I'm so thankful because just that hour long, it completely gave my training a 180. And actually, January, I completed my foundation course certificate with Volare under Adele, and now I am part of the Empowering Equine Academy. And I mean, I will, get used to it. I'm going to talk about Adele's stuff a lot on this, on this podcast. So I'm continuing my education with the idea to later, join her mentorship program and, actually making this a business, because there are not a lot of positive reinforcement trainers in South Africa, if any. So I do believe that, there are people who want to train this way, and if I'm able to help them, that would be fantastic. And if it remains a hobby, I'm also 100% okay with that. I will see how life takes me.
Okay, so is that how you got to the point where you are today?
Professionally, yes. Definitely, I will always advocate for, getting help, getting someone to help you out in your journey. And the amazing thing about the modern age is you can speak to people on the other side of the world, and you can get the same quality education, training, mentorship, and that's incredible. So there's actually no excuse, to get training from the best in the world.
And another thing that I think helped you getting where you are today, your degree that you completed is a Bachelor of Arts in Behavioral Science.
Yes.
And you completed your honors degree in industrial psychology.
Yes.
Which is both behavioral and is a lot with psychology and how people's brains work. And you can apply a lot of those principles that you learned in an academic institution, an internationally recognized institution, if I might add, to your horse career, if I can say it like that. Another thing that I think you also learned that I really appreciate, because we both met at university. We both have a strong bias towards scientific papers and applying the scientific method. So we won't just use any resource as truth.
Yeah.
You will see that it is actually valid information.
Yeah. Definitely I have my undergraduate is in behavioral sciences, and my postgraduate, they're called honors degrees in South Africa. I'm not sure what the equivalent is in the US or other countries.
I think it might be the same.
Is it?
I think so.
Okay. But it is a postgraduate studies program because for both my postgraduates, I had to write research papers. And after that, I gained a real appreciation for academics and academic literature and the efforts and processes that actually go into it, because it's not like, like taking an afternoon and just writing a bunch of things up and referencing it. It's a honors degree, or my honors degrees took me 7 months to complete each.
Yeah.
So that takes a long time. A master's degree.
And if I might add, you started 2 months before COVID started. In 2020.
Yeah, that was a bit rough. That was hectic. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and there's a lot of nuances that go into academic writing. And, sometimes people just read a title and, take that as fact, but you can actually make a lot of correlations. Like, you can take a topic that is seemingly not applicable to your topic, but the results can support one of your statements. So it is much more complicated than simply just taking the abstract and taking that as fact. It's how the research was conducted, the methodology, the ideology, the potential biases the writers might have, from which school of thought it's from. So that definitely helped me to be able to label myself as science-based, I would say, because I know how to find the resources. And that's also why I started my page, is to take that and make it accessible to
the masses.
Yeah.
I also think that your page is so successful as it is because you use valid resources. You don't go and say, but my uncle said this and this. A lot of people want that information and they want it to be true. I don't want my information to be false if I watch the news or wherever. I actually dislike pages that perform more clickbaity news rather than just or information.
My posts are a bit clickbaity.
And that's the other thing. We have to play the algorithm as well. That's just how Instagram works. What gets picked up and what doesn't get picked up.
Yeah, so I'm completely aware that my title of my posts can be quite clickbaity.
Yes,
but that's how I get people to actually read my mini essays. So
you don't need people to read your mini essays anymore because you have a podcast.
Now I have a podcast, so now you can listen to me while you're driving to work or from university or college or feeding your horses, because that's when I listen to podcasts, or taking your dog for a walk. That's also when I listen to podcasts.
Yes, and I also think that this will definitely benefit the horse community, because we will discuss most of the times the post that you made this week. So I don't think people understand the amount of research you do, because Instagram limits you to the amount of words. I've seen posts of you, not that I follow the page religiously, but some of the posts that I have seen, you go into the comments just to get more words in. So now you can just write a summary, basically.
Yeah, and I mean, I wish I could write longer captions, but then it comes to the point you start losing people, and people don't want to spend a half an hour reading your posts and everything. So, and I really appreciate it when people add on with their insight and experiences. I think that definitely enriches the post, hearing everybody's thoughts and experiences on that specific topic, because they will add on things that from a viewpoint that I didn't even think of. So I always encourage people to comment and add. Don't be afraid to add your experiences or ask questions or anything like that. Do we have any other questions?
Yes, we have one more question. What is your plans with the brand Empowering Equine, your future plans?
Well, immediately is just continuing on Instagram and Facebook. Obviously, we branched out to the podcast, and with the podcast specifically is just kind of like the trajectory forward. The idea is I'm going to be backtracking a bit with the posts and discussing posts that a lot of questions and engagement, in the sense of there was a lot of more discussion to be had on the topic. We're going to be discussing those and adding a bit more depth. So we're going to be backtracking and just futures, just discussing the posts and putting more meat on them.
The podcast will expand more in detail than what the posts can.
Yeah, so we will be expanding further. So taking into account the comments, questions, everything like that.
We can even reply on comments on the podcast.
Yeah, we can do that as well. And then besides that, maybe in the future, maybe do some training virtually, maybe do some training in person, but that's a story for another day. I don't want to get too into that because there's a lot of logistics that need to be sorted out first.
Yeah, so I think it's safe to say that we won't be hosting an Empowering Equine clinic soon.
No, sorry.
Yeah, we will. First, we have to get more proficient.
Yeah, we still have a lot of things to...
Do you know the Dunning-Kruger effect?
No, I do not know the Dunning-Kruger effect.
Basically, what the Dunning-Kruger effect is, that the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. So, usually, it's like a curve. I think it's a upside down bell curve, where if you have less experience on a subject, you think you know everything. But the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And then in the middle, you realize, I know the least now. And when you get to learn more, then you realize, okay, I'm learning more. So the Dunning-Kruger effect is usually people that are uninformed think they know everything. And the professionals know they don't know everything.
I hope at least I'm there where I'm in the middle. I realize, like, I'm there, I realize I don't know everything. And that was where I was last year as well. That's why my training stagnated so much, is because I realized I don't have the skills to fully train these horses in the way I want them to be trained. I need help. So I'm hoping at least I'm a bit further along than where I was last year. Hopefully. I wish we can calculate that, but I'm not willing to wait 6 months to find the results.
Even the infamous Will Smith said, "When I was a teenager, I was stupid, but at least I was stupid in the privacy of my own home. Today, we are on the internet and everybody knows if you do something stupid."
Okay.
So that's my point that I'm trying to make, is that if we do make an uneducated, not guess, but
assumption.
Yeah, if we make an uneducated assumption, then everybody will know, hey, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. Then you will get labeled as uneducated because we are in the public eye now.
We are in the public eye.
Yes, everybody.
It sounds like I'm. What's that TikTok? Do you think everybody knows I'm a micro internet celebrity? No.
Yes, I say we now because I'm on the Empowering Equine payroll.
What payroll?
Exactly. I get paid in exposure.
You're going to be sorely disappointed at how badly this job pays.
I get paid in exposure.
I'm glad. Yeah, so I think that's it.
Yes. Then underneath the advertisements of this podcast, you can write comments and
suggestions and what can we do to make the podcast better.
Yes. And
do you want more me? Do you want more of the husband? Do you want less of the husband? Do you want less of me?
Do you want better editing? Should we get a professional to edit?
Yeah, so please, this podcast is for you guys. It's not for us.
No, it's definitely not for us. We are not sacrificing our Sundays and Wednesdays and Saturdays, and Sundays and Wednesdays and Saturdays.
It's a labor of love. It's a passion project. So we want to do it if you guys enjoy it. So definitely feel free to send me DMs. I'm very active on Instagram.
And we are open for criticism, because without criticism we can't grow. I don't know what mistakes I am making, or I might be numb to them.
Yeah, believe it or not, this is our first podcast.
Yes.
So we don't know, so please.
Our microphones and mixer and everything has been outside of the box a full 12 hours.
Yeah, so, alright. I think that's it.
Okay.
I don't have an outro yet, but we're gonna get one now. So.
And we will see you in the next episode.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Have a lovely day.
we will launch the first 3 episodes together.
Yeah.
So see you in a minute or so.
Yeah.
In episode 1.
Hug your horses and be kind to one another.